Hi guys, it's Lucy. Today we are going to talk about flights. This is a book written by Olga Tokarczuk. She's a Polish writer, and the version that I'm reading is translated by Jennifer Croft. So this book was written in 2018 and it won the International Booker Prize. The author herself was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature in 2019. So very widely translated. I picked this book up in Ireland, so it's got the UK blue cover. This first came on my radar when I was browsing in Toronto, so it's got the North American, very much more energetic yellow cover. To be honest, the cover made me buy this book because it just fit so much more with what I thought the content would be like, which it's a very literary oriented book. It's a lot of very short pieces. Some of these pieces are, as short as a few lines or half a page, and the longer ones are like quite short as well, up to like 1 page. So it's perfect for someone who is traveling or is, on a flight, who is going to be interrupted quite a bit. You can just pick it up and read from any page. You don't even have to read the whole thing in chronological, by order of the pages, and you don't have to read the whole thing at all. They're all very, very different topics, and there isn't really a word that I would use to describe that would encapsulate the one or a few topics. It's just sort of all over the place. But what I would say that sort of rounds off this book is that it's for anyone who never really felt content or fulfilled in a single place, who's not rooted. So exactly like flights, this is for people who always felt like they want to go somewhere, but they don't know what that destination might look like. So maybe that's why it rings really true to me, because I feel that a lot. So I really, really enjoyed this book, but I think the only way to communicate what the highlights are is to give very, very short quotes from the book itself, because it's just extremely hard to describe. There is no plot, there are no characters, and again, there is no really set topic. It's just an overall feeling and thoughts and perhaps opinions on certain things that I think are interesting and are articulated very well. So, for example, life always managed to elude me, and she goes on to describe that a bit more. And in another one, she mentions desire. Desire in itself is empty. In other words, it merely indicates direction, but never destination. Destinations, in any case, always remain phantasmagoric and unclear. The closer we get to them, the more enigmatic they become, which I find because my desires are constantly changing in multiple aspects of life. So that's exactly what she is saying here. By no means is it possible to ever actually attain a given destination, nor in doing so appease desire. It's a little pessimistic, but anyway, so this process of striving is best encapsulated in the preposition towards. But towards what? Question mark. And this is just a tidbit of humor. She says, God writes with his left hand and in mirror writing. And in another one, she talks about obsession. Obsession is, in any case, the premonition of the existence of an individual language, an irreproducible language through the attentive use of which we will be able to uncover the truth. We must follow this premonition into regions that to others might seem absurd and mad. I think kids need to be educated on some of these ideas, but again, I think a lot of adults don't even think this way, or live this way. Sometimes we are ridiculed by our obsessions and we are thought of as strange and absurd, but in reality that could be eventually, if you venture into it far enough, a whole new charter into undiscovered territories in some sort of realm that only you have the sights on. It's it's elusive. And also here it says, the fact that we so precisely describe it does not at all mean that we know it. And I think as a society, we are suffering from this quite a bit. We are so precisely describing everything, especially in the scientific field, but does that mean that we actually know how it works? I doubt that. I doubt that quite a lot. And in another one, she says, he insisted that the highest sort of reason is intuitive, not logical. It could be contentious for some people to read that. For me, I wholeheartedly agree. So it's just another view, a personal view. And here she says, then you realize night gives the world back its natural, original appearance without sugarcoating it. Day is a flight of fancy, light a slight exception, an oversight, a disruption of the order. The world is, in fact, dark, almost black, motionless, and cold. I think there are some religious people who will fight these statements quite a bit, but it makes you think, where do you stand? How do you think about the world? And here she mentions something that's a little bit more current. She says, the internet is a fraud. It promises so much that it will execute your every command, that it will find what you're looking for, etc., etc., and passages of more and more pages, businesses that always promise more than they can give. And then she goes on, and this passage ends with, you feel like spreading out your arms and plunging into it, into that abyss. But there is nothing more deceptive. The landscape turns out to be wallpaper. You can't go any further. This is so astute and very, I think this is exactly where we stand as a society when it comes to the internet and the Internet of Things. It feels like we have so much options and so much possibilities, but there are certain arguments in the tech world that are, just verbalized in other books that I'm reading now, that we are in fact limiting ourselves in certain ways. And she mentions businesses here, but that is one of the big reasons and incentives that it's become that way. And all of this is new territory, unregulated territory, and highly contentious, again, because of business interests. And that's a whole nother story, but that's not the focus of this book. It just shows how wide of a range that all of these little essay pieces are, and it makes you think. And you could literally flip to any page, and I love that about this book. Another thing that she mentions just about writing that I think is pretty cool is that she says, I know that writing on bags is something people do only out of anxiety and uncertainty. Neither defeat nor the greatest success are conducive to writing. So it says something about her own process as a writer, about this whole book itself. It's a way to almost like a relief for anxieties that she has about this life, about life in general, and that this is not a triumphant story. A lot of this is quite dark, to be honest, but I think this is for people who are willing to contend with that, and perhaps that's what it takes to win a Nobel Prize. This is the stuff of Nobel Prizes, I suppose. I would admit that there are books that I've picked up because the author has won the Nobel Prize that I don't understand at all. But this one is just off the charts, something completely different, but resonated very much with my soul. So I would recommend this if it sounds like something that you would be interested in through the quotes and passages that I just briefly blurted. Let me know if you've come across this, or if you read this. I would love to know what you think and what popped out for you. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.